Antoine,
Bill, how are you?
awesome, man. How about you?
Doing well. It's finally not raining. I don't know if it was raining in Greensboro as much as it was here in Durham for
It was.
the
We had
last
a
couple of
pretty,
days.
yeah, we had a pretty rainy weekend.
Yeah,
Sun's out though. It's a beautiful day.
I know. It's like if only we weren't, under quarantine.
Yeah, I know. At least I can still play golf sometimes, so
Yeah.
pretty happy about that.
Yeah, so how have you been?
Just trying to hang in there, man. Trying to spread positivity. It's tough every day, people coming in and just down on hope and everyone's quarantined. They're tired of being at home. They want to get out and about, have that structure. And I try to spread the positivity and keep my sanity. So
Well,
it's,
especially you, because you're a business owner. So,
right.
you have a lot riding on you, and I know from Facebook you have a big staff too that you're trying to take care of, and this situation just doesn't help. It wasn't a one of any of our making, but it's one that we're all having to deal with in some type of way.
Right,
Or
right.
form. So
Yeah, I mean, when we had to shut down the lounge, that was so difficult because, we had to lay off our bartenders, so they could collect the unemployment. And also we lose a huge piece of our business, which is never a fun time. So it's an experience that we'll remember forever. And I think everyone is just gonna, grow from this. But it's pretty comforting because everyone's in a pretty similar boat.
right.
So
It's not like
it's not,
a localized, like just you, and you're looking at everybody else,
hmm
out
right.
in the parking lot frolicking around.
Yeah, yeah,
They'll make it even worse.
yeah. No one's enjoying this except maybe the people who own Harris Teeter. They probably love this.
Well, it's funny because I was watching the news at lunchtime, and well, I don't think it was here in North Carolina, but it was like a Target here, and they were complaining about people not social distancing and putting them at risk, which you can
Right.
understand because I'd heard that even from my mom. She still ventures out to a store here and there to take care of some stuff, and she was saying, like, people that she knows, they're going into the stores and not everybody's practicing the social distancing, not everybody's wearing a
Right.
mask, not everybody,
Right.
so it makes everybody like very anxious because people want to get back to normal. So
Yeah,
if everybody
yeah.
doesn't play their part, then it
Right.
makes it
I
it's
have I
crazy.
have I have some customers that'll come in and they'll try to get really close, and I'm like, dude, like we
You're like,
have to stay 6 feet
back it up.
apart. We have the ability to do that. We're the only ones in here, so let's just keep the distance and we'll be cool.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's funny.
yeah,
I see we have some cool people tuning in. We have George from Camacho and
awesome.
some other people, and
Big Ed, my
yeah.
uncle,
So
nice.
when I put this whole thing together, I didn't know what I wanted it to be or what I wanted to do with it. But now it's turned into a great way to kind of touch base with a bunch of people. It's almost like a virtual trade show.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
we're at a trade show, we run into people, we have conversations, and then we
hmm
move on to the next booth, the next friend or whatever. We're not able to have trade shows right now. We're not able to have events. So being able to kind of touch bases, I found is important, just to remind people that we're here, you're here, you still have a business.
Yeah.
It's not shut down completely. It's still
hmm
there. So just sharing your story in a completely different way, a little bit of an interactive way at the end of the day when people are usually
Yeah.
on Instagram kind of trying to, like you said, find some way to kind of uplift themselves a little bit. So
hmm
thank you for joining me.
No problem, man. I'm honored to be on the show. I've been tuning in as much as I can, catching little snippets here and there, watching the replays. It's it's a great way to help keep the morale boosted. So we appreciate you for sure.
Oh, no problem. So what I wanted to do is like you said, for a lot of people who can't tune in right now, they could be watching this in playback mode, to introduce them to some of the faces in the industry, all sides of the industry. So, you know, I've been talking to a lot of the manufacturers in the past couple of weeks, and I spoke to like one or two retailers, and then I was like, why not we have like a whole week of just nothing but retailers, like some of the cool retailers, in my opinion. I mean, everybody's in their own thing, but some of the, you know, people who are really out there doing some cool things have awesome stores, so that when all this stuff kind of lifts to the point where we can get out and socialize again, you know, they have people and places that they can look towards to kind of visit. So Havana Fields is, to me, is like when you think of North Carolina and you think of, you know, the good tobacconists out there and the good cigar lounges. I mean, we have some good options out there, but to me, like, you're definitely in the top 5. You know, I won't say where you rank because we don't want to make anybody else feel bad, but you're definitely in the top, you know, places that I found like everybody wants to go to. Everybody remembers your dad as being like the go-to tobacconist, and now you've like stepped into that role like so easily. Like, maybe to us, it maybe hasn't been easy for you, but you stepped into that role and you made it your own, and you're making it your own. So I just like wanted to share your story as a tobacconist and how you kind of stepped in, you know, how you kind of stepped into the role, like what you found has worked for you, you know, things that maybe especially this situation has kind of brought to mind, where you're like, maybe I need to focus on this part of the business a little bit more, because obviously we all have time to like reflect in this month and a half that we've been kind of under this kind of quarantine situation. That we kind of said, you know, maybe I need to focus a little bit more on this part of my business, or maybe I need to focus a little bit more on, you know, learning how to do this skill set that I never learned, that obviously would have been, you know, great to have right now when we're all kind of facing a little bit of a slow time. So just kind of, I guess, to start off, just kind of share your story. Like, how did you get into the business? How did you come to be in charge of Havana Fields? Because I don't know if everybody knows. So let's not assume that anybody knows the real story.
Yeah. So in 2011, my father started Havana Fields. We were in a tiny little retail store, probably 2 miles away from where we are now. It was a hobby of his, and it grew into a passion, and it was a passion project. He was at the store every day, you know, just hustling and grinding, and I got to experience that from sort of a distance. I was down in Charlotte. I was working at Starbucks. I was going to school, and just trying to make it in life, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And then my last year of school, that summer, he took me to the IPCPR in Las Vegas. And I think he knew what he was doing when he did that, because I had an amazing time. I just felt tons of love. And just the family aspect of the cigar industry just drew me in. And right when I got home from Vegas, I decided that I wanted to move back to Greensboro and start to work under him and learn from the best. And I just saw all the respect that people had for my father, and it was just such a beautiful thing. So that's basically how I got into it. And from there, it was a ride. I learned from the bottom. You know, I was cleaning the toilets, I was restocking the humidor, I was dusting whatever needed to be dusted, you know, just doing the dirty work for him. And Big Ed, of course. Shout out Big Ed. I see him commenting down there. You know, then things kind of evolved, and he ended up getting sick and passed away. And then I took over the reins, and it was a fire. It was not easy. Not an easy transition. And so from there, you know, it was like, what am I going to do? Am I going to try and replicate what he was doing and try and fill his shoes, or am I just going to create my own path? And I realized that I was not going to be able to fill his shoes. His shoes were so large, and you know, I could never live up to what he was. So then I just realized I just have to be myself, come up with creative ideas, you know, and start to put my own twist on this business. And it's worked out pretty well. And, you know, it took a lot of adjustment. And now we're in this pandemic, and we're just trying to hang on. You know, I can sit here, brainstorm all the great ideas I have, but it's like, you know, are they going to come shut us down tomorrow? You don't know. Are they going to extend this stay-at-home act in North Carolina? You don't know. So there's so many unknowns. It's like, how can you really plan for it? We have some great ideas brewing. One of our main focuses right now is, you know, we're looking to expand and build off the brand that we've built over the past almost 10 years. So that's kind of where we're at mentally. Just trying to hang on, you know.
Yeah. And I guess that's a good thing to kind of focus on, because I mean, we all have been watching the news and wherever you get your news from, whether it's just online or whatever. And we see how it's affected businesses, but I mean, we don't hear really like how it's really affecting business, because usually when they talk about business, it's like you said, your Harris Teeter or your Target, right. You know, the big people who are still operating, they're just operating in a completely different way. But you know, cigars are such an odd category. It's a challenging category to begin with, because you're asking people to come buy a product that they're going to enjoy for like a moment of time, and they're going to spend anywhere from, you know, $5 to on up on a product that they're just going to light up on fire, which is like, if you put it like that, it's a crazy idea. But how has this situation like really impacted you because you're a small business, really? I mean, you're what we're most focused on. I mean, you're not this big franchise. You don't have a corporate office, you know, saying, "Oh, don't worry, you know, we'll take care of you." It's like you're it. So how has the situation kind of impacted you, really?
Right. Paul Pelton down there, he asked what I'm smoking. I'm smoking the new Cigar IV. It's a blend that I made in Nicaragua when I was down visiting Rocky Patel's factory. Really delicious. If you guys are in Greensboro or anywhere in the state, we'll ship it to you. We ship boxes for free. Sorry, just had to do a quick little shout out there. But how this is impacting us, I mean, it's horrible. You know, we're kind of a destination in Greensboro. We have 3 lounges for people to smoke at, and we've had to close all 3.
Oh, man.
So, you know, the biggest attraction is people coming, hanging out, enjoying the lifestyle with us, and us creating that experience for them. And now we can't do that to, you know, the same effect that we could, you know, last month. So I would say we're down about 60, 70%. And everyone I've talked to that owns a small business in this area, it's pretty much the same thing, you know, whether it's a restaurant, not a wine store. Wine stores are killing it. So, you know, pretty much just anything. You know, a lot of other retailers had to shut down. You know, the art shops, the frame shops, the fan shops, whatever you can think of, they had to shut down, and we're all in the same boat. You know, luckily, we found a loophole to stay open, and that was our beer and wine to go license.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that gave us the ability to stay open, because I couldn't imagine being closed right now. Like, what the hell would I do? You know?
I know. Like you said, and we're waiting. I mean, on one hand, I'm glad they're taking their time to figure out so that we don't, like, they don't release the floodgates and we all rush out, and then all of a sudden, a month or 2 down the road, they're having to close things down because things are so bad.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's the not knowing how to get back to normal or when you're going to get back to normal. Sometimes that's the most like stressful part.
Right.
I mean,
and for me,
like, there's no, they don't know. I mean, they don't have any way of knowing. It's like we're all kind of in this thing together, but it's.
Yeah. Have they extended it in Raleigh, the Stay-at-Home Act?
Raleigh, they did, because Raleigh's was ending, I think, last week. So they extended it to align with most of the triangle. So like here in Durham,
Hmm.
it ends like next week,
Oh
in
wow.
theory. But
Yeah.
Durham is very liberal, which is fine.
Hmm.
But they will be we're like now like the first it used to be like Wake County would set the tone for the whole state. Like
Yeah.
Wake County would decide we're going to do this, and then Durham will follow, then Chapel Hill, and then it will spread everywhere. And
Right.
now it's like Durham is like, oh no, we're going to shut down. So we were the
Right.
first ones to have like a stay-at-home order,
That's
and
right. Yep.
now that we're the first ones to I think in the state to require that you have a mask on when you're outside of, just outside, and you can't
Oh
social
wow.
distance. So it's just like, how do you do that if you don't have a mask? If you can't find a mask,
Yeah.
they're not enforcing. It's not like they're going to arrest you, but they're
Hmm.
telling you that that's what they want, and I don't think there's a time stamp on when that is over.
So when you
So
go to the grocery store, will they let you in even if you don't have a mask?
I think they will, but they still. It's one of those like iffy situations because everybody's like, "How are you enforcing it?" And they're like, "Well, you can't enforce it, but you need to be able to do it." So
Yeah.
I have no idea how it's going to evolve. It's one of those
Hmm.
things where it's just they introduced it and they're like, Monday at blah 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 time. This is when
Hmm.
this is when it's there. So we're all
Yeah.
like everyone in the state. We're just kind of waiting to see what's going on and how it's going to roll out. I mean, next week, I mean, is basically the end of the month. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have to make a lot of decisions to
Right.
figure out how this evolves for all of us.
Yeah, we're kind of getting the feeling that they're probably going to extend it statewide. Um,
Yeah,
that's just what I've heard. You hear all sorts of rumors with all our customers coming in and out, but yeah, my uncle just said in California you have to wear a mask.
hmm
So
in Miami
I'm
too.
I'm not looking forward to that. I can't imagine wearing a mask and trying to talk to a customer, you know.
I know it's just like I said, it's like the new normal.
Yeah, yeah. Guess we have to get used to it, but
We do.
yeah.
It's one of those things that at some point you just have to rip off that band-aid and get to it if we want to get back to getting outside of our houses and
Yeah.
and going to work and
Yeah.
just operating as usual. I know,
Yeah.
like, how do you like for you, like when you all have like local events, and I know
Hmm.
like this is a season where you'll see like an uptick in the usually in local events, which things more people are in your city. They're looking for a place to visit. The
Hmm.
Havana feels is that place. I mean, how is that impacting you? The fact that we don't have as many local events to deal with, like even like smoking in the Carolinas. I know
Hmm.
when all the manufacturers come for that, they're
Yeah.
usually plan to stop by, you all, because you all are
Hmm.
just, a short, maybe 20-minute ride to Burlington where that event is. Well, that
Right.
event's been
Yeah.
postponed until what, September?
Yeah, I think
so,
so.
so like, how is that the fact that even, now you're not even having like these local events
Hmm.
to drive that traffic into your store?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're severely down for this year because of this whole pandemic, and we've had to postpone our Nish Patel event, which is usually our largest event of the year. It competes with Rocky, that's for sure. And then we had Christoph next month, and it looks like, we're not going to be able to have 100 people out here. So we'll
Right.
be postponing that, scheduling it later for the year. And that's a huge source of revenue for us. So in the bar and the retail. And, it's going to hurt us for this entire year. But at the same time, it's like, I try not to think about that because it's out of your control. So the thing I do is I just have to put some positivity to it, uh, remain positive, and have that faith that we're all gonna make it. And it's just like anything that you go through in life. You got to grow from it, or
Right.
you're gonna lose it. So it's finding that middle ground for me.
So going off of that, when you have looked at the situation, is there anything that kind of stood out to you as being like, oh, I need to focus more on this part of my store or this part of my business? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what has kind of stood out to you because of this situation as areas that you can possibly focus on or improve, or weak
Yeah.
areas that you want to just revisit and look at?
Mm-hmm. So we've closed off the humidor for our customers to go in just to be safe. You know, we don't want anyone in there touching or sniffing any cigars. So it's been really cool introducing people to brands, kind of forcing it on them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if they don't know what they want, I'll go in there and I'll just bring out an assortment of 10 cigars. And I'll be like, you should try this. I describe that blend, you know, and I just go through the lineup. And that's been a nice change up because typically a lot of guys just like to go in the humidor, um, and we'll go in there and ask them if they need any assistance, suggestions, have any questions about anything. But not having them go in there is kind of awesome because I'll just bring out things I want them to try that I think they'll like. And then they'll come back the next day and they'll be like, I want that, but suggest a new thing, you know,
Right.
something similar to that. So that's a little new thing that I might start trying, you know, just offering people like a service of me picking out your cigars and
Mm-hmm.
having that special VIP customer experience.
Yeah, because I remember at maybe it was TPE last year, not this year, but when Michael Herklotz was presenting how to, you know, get more activation out of your retail, basically, he was saying sometimes like have that tray. And at that time, of course, you could go into humidors and you didn't have to worry about all this stuff. But go into the humidor, you know, have a nice little tray there, put the person's cigar that they are thinking about buying like on the tray. So maybe
Hmm.
like that's something that you could do where you could say like, what kind of cigars are you into? Blah, blah, blah. You know,
Right.
you go into the humidor yourself, you pick out a certain selection, present it to them on like the nice little tray thing and say like, this is this. It's a nice way to, like you said, to, and I think I was talking about this with Nick Perdomo and his wife about pushing people through different lines that they wouldn't normally, you know,
Hmm.
focus on, getting them outside of their comfort zone. Because a lot of times, consumers, I find, you know, they find one cigar or two cigars or a brand that they really like, and then that's it.
Yeah,
They don't want
yeah.
to try anything
They
else.
get stuck on it. Yeah,
Right,
creatures of habit.
right.
Um, but yeah, actually, shout out to David Ludwig. When I was first starting at the store in Greensboro here, he kind of took me under his wing and gave me a little mentor day. He was uh, the rep for Arturo Fuente,
Mm-hmm.
and now he's moved up in the company and doing big things. But he took me for an entire day and trained me on everything that he knew about working in retail.
Wow.
And the biggest thing I took away from it was the tray, um, putting that tray in their hands, and giving them that room to put extra cigars on there, and that usually adds about 1 to 2 cigars per transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I pretty much do that every time, but I like going in there and having them blind and not letting them look at anything, not remembering where things are, and just picking those cigars out. It's a really fun game we play here.
What cigars are people kind of gravitating towards right now in your store?
So the virtual event that we've been promoting the past few weeks with La
Mm-hmm.
Polina and Room 101 has kind of sparked a huge growth in the Room 101 map booth sales and La Polina as well.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so that was an amazing, amazing thing that they did for us as brick and mortars. You know, they really helped us out with that. They sent us customers, you know, and it got our customer base involved, you know, and brought that sense of community back into our doors, even though it's virtual. So
Right. Well,
yeah.
I liked it because, you know, when they announced it, you know, I knew that you usually carry Matt Booth stuff, so I knew that probably of the retailers that I deal with in this area that you probably were going to be, you know, offering that deal. So it gave me a way to help because, you know,
Mm,
people want to support their local tobacconists. It's just that you can't get out there, you can't drive there, and, you know, it's an easy way
Right.
to, it was an easy way for us to help and then get what we would want anyway, which is, you know, cigars and some nice little, that little wine swag item and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it
Yeah,
was
and those raffle tickets too.
and the raffle tickets, everything.
You got your package, right?
Of course. Yes.
Awesome, awesome.
I
Good to
got it.
hear.
I'm all ready for the big virtual event this week and everything. So
Yeah, and shout out to the shipping department at La Polina. I mean, I haven't had one wrong order so far. You know, no one's called me and said they didn't get their package, and they really they really pumped that out. You know, they pumped those orders out, and it was just an amazing, amazing thing. Um, but I have a question for you, Antoine.
okay.
What's with the name? Deep cuts. Are you talking about a V cut, or are you talking like cutting edge journalism?
Oh, see, that's a good question. So when I was coming up with this thing, I was like, what would I call it? You know, and I didn't want to call it just like your basic cigar this, cigar that, because I think there's enough, there's far enough podcasts and little video
Hmm.
things out there that with that name. And I
Yeah.
always try to think of the future. So I was thinking, I was like, I want something that if I'm doing it on my own and, you know, in my own time, my own money, everything that I'm putting together right now is just my own resources,
Yeah.
you know, here. So I was like, what would I want to do with it? And I wanted something that if I wanted to get it like on iTunes, you know,
Hmm.
like the podcast distributed there. And I know a lot of cigar podcasts are already on there, but I know from trending that a
Hmm.
lot of anything named tobacco or cigar, social media wise, or even with Apple, like gets yanked at some point. It's just
Right. Right.
it just happens.
Yeah.
And I didn't want, and even though there's cigar stuff on Apple right now, you know, I
Hmm.
wanted to be able to have a podcast or something that audio wise I could be on Apple. You know, I could be on this other site. I could be on anywhere without anything like coming down saying, "Oh, you're tobacco, you know, leaning or whatever."
Right.
So, you know, I thought about I have like the stack of vinyl records over here,
Hmm.
and I'm thinking about music and the fact that like so many artists have like tracks that nobody really pays attention to because you always pay attention to what gets released, and the same for a story in media. You know, you only pay attention to like the stories that get released or the press releases. So, you know, like let's do a little deep cut, you know, with these people that I've been speaking to, like you, and
Hmm.
like dive deep. You know, it's not all business. It's not, you
Hmm.
know, so I'm not using the different magazines that I work with.
Right.
It's a little bit deeper than that sometimes. So it probably be like a little bit like light for tobacco business. It
Hmm.
might be a little bit deeper for cigars and leisure. So this is like a nice medium midway. We can talk about anything.
I
You know,
like
there's
it.
no rules. It's deep cuts.
Yeah. Sweet. That sounds good, man. And I saw your setup. It's very impressive. You got the light. You got the mic. Um, so you just record these and you throw them up on the Apple Podcasts.
Yeah. So what I did was, like I said, this has been my quarantine learning process because I've talked
Hmm.
about doing it for ages, and
Right.
I just never had time. And then all of a sudden this happened, and I was like, let's let me use this time wisely and let me like experiment with it. So
Hmm.
yeah, so I started doing it just because I know our friends Erica and Amy, they were doing their own thing just like this, and they had me on their show, and I was very thankful, and I saw it wasn't that bad, and I was like, oh, I was like, and then you know, I saw Michael Herklotz doing his thing on his in the beginning of this quarantine stuff, and I was like, oh,
Hmm.
it's not bad. I was like, maybe I can, you know, do the same thing. So for me, it's been
Yeah.
a learning curve because I figured out I needed the light, so I ordered the light for Amazon. You know, very
Hmm.
cheap, $51. You
It's
know,
not bad.
I know, got the light. You know, I already had a tripod that
Hmm.
was just laying around and doing nothing. Then I learned how to take the videos and like pull them from live Instagram, how
Hmm.
to edit them using iMovie on an Apple computer. You know, how to do a little
Yeah.
bit of light editing, how to get it up, you know, on YouTube. And then the other day, I took that step of getting all the audio pulled, you know, getting that on Podbean, I think, and then submitting
Hmm.
that to iTunes for review. got approved yesterday or so for iTunes.
Congrats,
I
congrats.
know, so it was like a big deal. So it's like we're going to be everywhere. So for me, it's like even after all this is done, this quarantine, and we're back to normal, it's like
Hmm.
probably taking this and maybe not doing it every day, but like at least once a week where
Yeah,
it's stuff going. And then there's always people that I talk to off camera, maybe like on the phone that I could easily pull the audio from and maybe have like just some exclusive audio stuff.
that's
So,
awesome, man. It sounds like you're keeping yourself busy during the quarantine.
oh yeah, yeah. Because at first it was like I think it was like everybody's like your question. You said, "What would I do if I didn't have the store open?" It was like that because
Right.
the industry is just like slowing down a little bit.
Hmm.
There's not a lot of news stuff coming out. There's definitely not a lot of big releases right now
No.
because people want to wait until they can easily go out there and promote it. So it was like,
Yeah.
how can I stay relevant, stay active, but also kind
Hmm.
of get ahead of the game, and
Right.
especially
Right.
because usually this time of year we're all gearing up for PCA, and by not knowing how this event is going to impact that event, I just wanted to definitely keep in touch with people and not assume that things were going to go on as normal because one by one, it's like as we go further into this, events are just getting canceled left and right. So I
Yeah.
didn't want to assume that we would be at a trade show this summer,
Right.
and just wanted to stay out there so I could say
Yeah.
I talked to, I talked to people, so we're good. So
Yeah. Keeping those interactions. Well, like I said in the beginning, you're doing a great job. Um, and it's really cool to hear from everyone you've interviewed, and especially making it so easy being on Instagram Live and just clicking that button. And then if you want to rewatch it, then you can just go on Facebook. So
yeah,
I think you got it down pat here, Antoine.
well, it's like because I see people doing Facebook Lives, and I think that's great too, and stuff. For me, it was just I wanted, like you said, something that was easy for everybody to do.
Hmm.
Most people have Instagram on their phones. The phone is the best connection for these things. I just wanted to make it easier for all of us to get something done.
Right, right.
And it's pretty good quality, so it's like, why not? And I
Yeah,
could pull the video. I learned how to do that day one. So
yeah.
it's not like it's here for 24 hours and gone.
Hmm.
I'm able to recycle that and give it life.
Yeah. Create that content, man. That's what it's
Yeah.
all about.
So in terms of what you're doing, like, like have you thought about doing more digital stuff because of this for your store to kind of interact with your customers a little bit
I
more,
have.
or even putting on a virtual,
Hmm.
I know a lot of some retailers, not a lot, some retailers are starting to look at, I see, putting on some virtual events,
Hmm. Yeah.
and getting the manufacturers back involved.
Right. Yeah. So we've definitely looked into that. Um, the whole La Polina Room 101 virtual event kind of postponed that because they have it covered. They've got the whole
Right.
studio, all of that. So after we do that tomorrow night, we're gonna have a lot of customers doing Zoom meetings, hanging out during the La Polina Room 101 event. So that'll be a nice way to bring everyone together. And I think I'm going to piggyback off that and do like once a week, maybe lounge session where I'll just kind of Zoom from the lounge and then
Mm-hmm.
have the members or any customer that wants to join in come on in. So,
Yeah.
but hopefully they don't extend it and we can just get back to business and hang out at the lounge. And
True.
yeah,
I would say because even a virtual event, once a month or something where you show off what's new in the humidor would be
yeah,
great. Because I know
hmm,
that's always one of my biggest things. Because I know like I said, there's always some release every year that's like, oh my gosh, I got to get that. Now, where do I find it?
right,
And you're trying to go out there and find it. I think if more retailers kind of adapt it, you don't have to do an hour-long video. That's overkill for some people. But even if it's just like walk through the humidor saying, hey, this is what's new. We just got this in,
hmm,
and and you could do one of these live sessions with the manufacturer to talk about that new release. I
yeah,
mean, I think that would
that's
be a fun way to kind of like go, oh, like wow, and I didn't know they had that,
Yeah, that's a great idea. Um, Especially if we're, limited to having a certain amount of people in here at once, for however long that could be, and that'd be a nice replacement for events. I don't know about replacement, but it would be a good fill-in, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a replacement because
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean I've been to some of your events and they're like you can't replace you can't
No.
replace any of those with like a little virtual
Yeah.
event, but it's a nice like supplement or like bridge touch point as I like to call it.
Yeah. A little introduction to the new things that we've got going on. So, yeah, I'm gonna steal that idea from you if you don't mind.
Do it, do it. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to like spread some good ideas. Let's get like thinking about what we can do to get people involved. And
Right.
I mean, like I said, I've walked through your humidor several times, and even if you just took like I said, a different cigar and a different company, and you have George here from Camacho, like to talk about some of the
Hmm.
Camacho stuff because I know they have some new stuff coming out later on this year, or
Yep.
getting class to talk about some Avo stuff, or even Dylan. I mean, these are all personalities that I think once people kind of know, whenever they can attach a face to a product, that they seem to
Hmm.
kind of get a little bit more traction because they go,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
that person's cool. So there's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of like Davidoff people I know who are awesome who need to be in front of the camera a little bit more, like Dylan
Oh
and
yeah. Absolutely.
get him in front of the camera talking about some of the Davidoff stuff you have going on, and like I said,
Hmm.
and Christoph, Jared's here watching us, and um,
Jared.
a lot of that stuff. And these are like great personalities that you know some of the lounge members will just need to kind of be exposed to. So
Yeah, absolutely. Is all of those celebrities are so accessible, so it's
mhm.
a great thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry,
So
was I cutting in and out there?
a little bit, but we can hear most
Yeah.
of you.
Okay, cool.
So
Well,
so
yeah.
what? So I guess like what is new in your store? Like, what's the last new cigar that you got in besides the
Mm.
one that you shared with us earlier?
Yeah, so obviously, we haven't been ordering too much right now, given the whole situation, but we just brought in Crux cigars. Um, I
Very cool
met,
guys.
yeah, I met Casey at the TPE, and he was an amazing guy, and
Uh
he
huh.
came to the store, and we just had a great, great time, and smoked all of his cigars, and they're all phenomenal. And the marketing, that the merchandising of the boxes is just, it's just eye popping. The colors just get out there, and they're doing really, really well,
Yeah, I think
especially for what's going on right now.
I was about to say I think that their rebranding and kind of reboot that they did just
Hmm.
last year that they introduced that PCA of the Crutz brand was definitely needed. I mean, you don't know it's needed until like after you do it. But like you said, everything feels like refreshed, new, but
Hmm.
it's definitely in their own kind of way. So I'm a big fan of. I've been a big fan of the Crutz stuff. So
Oh
I
yeah,
did see you
and
posting.
they opened up their new shipping factory, shipping department, and that just means they're growing and growing. So we wanted to get on board and create a nice partnership with them, and we can't wait to have an event because I think that is just going to take them off in this area.
Definitely, and I mean, I don't know if there are a lot of retailers in this area who have Crutz.
I don't know. I don't think so. You
So
know.
it's like one of those brands that you're
Hmm.
going to be the go-to place in North Carolina to get Crutz, which would be a
Yeah,
nice selling point.
and hopefully it stays that way. So
Yeah.
yeah,
How's that the Nugs doing still in your store? Is it
the
still doing as well
nugs.
as it was?
Um, no, no. I mean, it's still doing well. It has a following, but when we first brought it in, it was just off the charts. It was my number one cigar for the longest time, maybe 3 months, and since then it's died off a little bit. But we're still cycling through them, and it's a great cigar.
Hmm.
It's not just a CBD. It's a beautifully constructed smoke. So we still sell them here and there.
Is there a certain size of cigar that your customers are kind of like gravitating towards, or that you tend to order more of?
My sister just said, send me some nugs. All right, I'll do that, Liz. I got you. And some wine too. Um, a certain size. Obviously, the most popular would just be Robusto and Toro. Um, there's a couple guys who love Lanceros, and we just have a smaller selection of those for them. But that's kind of a dying breed. Um, Personally, I love the Coronas. You get to taste that wrapper, um, and it's not too long of a smoke, not too short of a smoke. Um, but yeah, Toro and Robusto take the cake for sure.
And how about when you look at the cigars that you sell, is there a certain region that you see people gravitate towards more, like Dominican cigars or Nicaraguan, or is it
Mm.
just kind of an even mix?
Well, we're heavy Davidoff, very heavy Davidoff. So it's mainly it's a lot of Dominican. Um, but then we'll have our core group of guys loving the fuller bodies from Nicaragua. The AJ Fernandez, the Plasencia, the Rocky Patels, um, and that's it. I would say it's 60-40 if you had to split the two main regions as far as Dominican and Nicaragua.
Now you're like you just mentioned, like a big partner and a big part of your store is the Davidoff Lounge.
Hmm.
So like, what's your, I guess I know your dad probably started this, but you've had to maintain it. So what's that relationship like with Davidoff? Because I don't think people really get
Hmm.
to see like the inner workings of Davidoff like you and I probably do. So
Right. Yeah.
it's a completely different experience for us, and
Hmm.
but at the same time we're probably in a bubble, and not everybody sees or interacts with the team like we do, and sees that work that goes into it. So what's that relationship with Davidoff been like?
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of made me realize that they're a machine. Um, they're really, really top notch as far as what they produce, how they market, and how they, bring people in. It's almost like an addiction. Once you smoke Davidoff, you become a part of that family. Um, and it's pretty similar, but Rocky's on a smaller scale, but it's kind of the same thing. It's almost like a cult following. And working with them has taught me a ton because, they just have so much experience in driving that customer influence and just creating those sales and creating that connection as well. Um, but also like spending time with the Camacho guys, going on their trips and seeing the inner workings of that is really a beautiful thing, and having our customers experience that. We do a trip to Camp Camacho once a year, and it's such an amazing experience. We take them through the factories, the fields, and we're just honored to have that opportunity to be a part of that.
Yeah, and I mean, just for those who don't know, I mean, Camp Camacho is something that's really open to everybody.
Hmm.
I mean, I know they had to cut off some of the trips for this year because of coronavirus, but it's one of those things where you definitely should, I think, sign up for Camp Camacho and go at least once. Because there's not a lot of events where you can really go and experience, like, from the origin,
Right.
where a
Yep.
cigar, see how it's made, see where it's made, see the culture that surrounds it. So
Hmm.
Camp Camacho is one of those, to me, it's like must kind of like put on your list of things to do.
Oh, absolutely.
That, and I know I've gone to Pro Cigar 2 years now. I don't know if you've ever been,
Never
but
been.
Pro
That's on the
Cigar is
bucket list.
Pro Cigar is another good one. It's because I know you and I talked about this maybe when we were doing a story on you about how important it is to actually, if you're smoke cigars, to go out there and like see where it's made and how it's made, because you'll just come back with a completely different experience, a different appreciation for it. So
Oh yeah.
events like Camp Camacho and Pro Cigar are so important because you get to see Davidoff,
Hmm.
like the manufacturing side of Davidoff. the
Right.
tobacco fields and
Mm-hmm.
interact with Class and his father and Eladio and all these different,
Yep.
characters and personalities. And it's just so, it's just one of those things where you just have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Camp Camacho is, you know, it's so similar to the Davidoff trip, minus the setting, beautiful
Right.
Dominican Republic, and having Klaus and Hanky there is a great experience. But they have Manuel down there. Manuel's the head of the factory, head of production. He is the boss, and he literally takes you through each day. He takes you through the factory, he tells you the ins and outs. He takes you through the fields, the ins and outs. You can see how amazing his interactions are, his relationships are with his workers. And it's just such a beautiful thing to see such a powerful production be that friendly, be that
Mm-hmm.
have that much love go into the product. So seeing the head of the head chief take you through all that is just, it's just out of this world experience.
Definitely. So, I guess considering this stay-at-home order lifts anytime soon, I mean, what what can we do to help you? I'm saying like we as like consumers, we as manufacturers who are watching,
Hmm.
how can we best help you as a retailer? Because I mean, you're not gonna be able to make up in a month span. I guess maybe what you would have made this month had things been normal.
Right.
So you know, as a retailer, I mean, how can the industry best help you kind of move forward?
Well, my mind keeps going back to the La Polina Room 101 event, doing more things like that, where it's, those guys really put their ass on the line to help us out, to get their brand out there through the brick and mortar, um, and not through a big company like Thompson's or Cigar International or something like that. They went through the small people. And I think that's a trend. If people jumped on that, it'd be huge for us small guys, and other than that, it's really just having patience with us. We're gonna have to recoup from this, and we're gonna need as much support from the manufacturers that we can get. And as far as the consumers, I mean, you know, I've felt the strength in the community throughout this pandemic by people coming in, buying cigars, even if they don't need it. A lot of people can't smoke cigars at home. So to
Right.
ask more from my consumers would almost be selfish. Um, but, it's really like, what can we do? How are we going to recoup from this? And I think that's, in that question, there's so many questions, but
Mm-hmm.
at this point, it's just rolling with the punches because we don't know what's going to happen uh, in the next week or so. You know, we could open back up, but only have 10 people in here at a time. So we'll see, and we'll adapt to it the best way that we can.
Wow. It's just like it's just one of those things like who would have thought like, even a couple months ago we were like, oh, we'll be under quarantine and stores will be closed and
Hmm.
that you wouldn't even be able to come up with a scenario like this, thinking
No,
it'd be reality.
no, and it's nothing you can plan for either. You know, Being a day-to-day business, we survive off today. Um,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, we have 10 minutes left, and one of the things I want to touch on is kind of how you do reach out and you work with your community, because I think that's a big part of your business too. Because I see, every now, not even every now and then, like often, like every month, it's like you're out there, different businesses you're reaching out to. I mean, if they have like a little, you bring a little table to certain events, like the
Hmm.
Fashion Week in
Hmm.
Greensboro. I mean, you're there. So, and that provides you a way to like reach out to new customers because it's crossing over into different areas, like golf or fashion.
Hmm.
So just talk a little bit about that. Like, how can other retailers just expand their brands by kind of thinking broadly and maybe getting outside of their comfort zone? Like, how do you even reach out to a company that maybe you think they wouldn't even be interested in speaking to you because you sell tobacco products, but how do you kind of start
Hmm.
building those bridges and those relationships?
Well, for us, it was always sort of a natural thing. Um, it was a natural sense of community where you go out and you support others, and once you do that, you create the relationship, and then you sit down, you have a drink and a smoke with them, and you're like, how can we benefit each other? You know, and it's all about, you know, creating that friendship, that relationship where you're both gonna have something come out of it. You know, whether it's going out doing as many charity events as you can do. You know, that's where you meet the best people because you're all there for the same reason. And at the end of the day, you know, it's helping the community of we're in Greensboro, North Carolina, grow. Um, and that's our goal every day. You know, we want to create that environment, whether it's within the store or outside the store, whether it's at a golf course, whether it's at a fashion show, whether it's at, you know, the community table. Um, we follow the passions, you know, and fashion is, you know, not my strong suit, but I appreciate it. So I've become really good friends with the guy who runs that operation, and woman as well. And it's a beautiful thing, you know, as well as, you know, eating. You know, there's a local event where it's supporting local restaurants, which is probably huge right now because most restaurants and bars aren't going to survive this. Um,
Right.
so back to the question, it's just find the passion and follow it. You know, that's kind of our philosophy here.
And it's cool because you also, I mean, from that story that we worked on with you, that's people can read it on tobaccobusiness.com. You know, um, I mean, you take inspiration from different retailers, whether they're, you know, tobacco retailers or fashion retailers. And you said that you kind of bring some of the best aspects into your store just
Mm-hmm.
to get, you know, whether it's a merchandising idea or lighting idea. Um, you know, so I mean, what's the last store that you kind of walk through, or kind of other business that you kind of walk through that says, "Wow, I want to kind of bring a piece of that into like Havana Fields."
Mm, that's a tough question. I wouldn't say the last store because I was talking with Tony Bellotto, and you know Tony. He was
Oh
on
yeah.
here last week, right?
Uh-huh.
And you know, he's big into the wine, the coffee, the cigars. He's got a bunch of retail stores, and you know, I was just kind of picking his brain about what kind of wines I should bring in and how I should push them. And he really gave me some amazing tips. Um, so that guy I owe a lot to because that's really taken off in the past couple weeks. Our wine sales, pairing these specific, more affordable wines that you can't find in big box stores. You can't find it at Harris Teeter. You can't find it at Total Wine. You know, you bring those in, something like 10 to 15 bucks, and you pair it with your customer cigar, and that's been instrumental for us in the past couple weeks. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're kind of near the end of our time together, but I want people to know where your story is, how they can follow you, how they can keep track of Havana Fields, so that when all this thing is over a little bit, they can put you all on their list of places to visit. So just kind of give us that spill of where to, how to keep, you know, in touch with you and where to find your store.
Yeah, so we're all over social media. If you're on this live stream, we're on Instagram as Havana Phils. Um, we're on Facebook as Havana Phils Cigar Company. We make it really easy, and our website is havanaphils.com. We're located in Greensboro, North Carolina, right in Midtown. Uh, and yeah, give us a follow, give us a shout out, give me a call if you want any cigars, we're shipping boxes for free. So we
Awesome.
appreciate you, Antoine, having us
Oh,
on,
no,
and
thank you.
yeah, this
Yeah,
was
like I
awesome
said, I'm looking
experience,
forward to
man.
this. Looking forward to this being over, I guess, or this phase of it being over, and us getting back to some type of normalcy, and us being able to have events again and see each other in person. So
We can't
hopefully it will
wait.
be soon enough. Hopefully
Yes.
this is not going to be all of May, all of June, and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
definitely look forward to our next encounter.
Hmm.
Like I said, definitely reach out if there's anything that Tobacco Business or TMG can do to help, and we're going to be here. So
Yeah, thank you so much. I think you should get Ben on here, have a little interview with him. People would love it, the British accent. And we expect you guys to be at our huge party. Whatever party we have is going to be the biggest party in the history of North Carolina, whenever that's allowed. So
you just let us know.
absolutely. We will definitely keep you in the loop, Antoine.
Well, thank you. Like I said, it's been fun chatting, and hang in there.
Yeah,
Keep being positive. We need it.
absolutely. And thanks to all the people who watched this. We got tons of comments, and sorry we couldn't answer them all.
Yeah, but this is a great time to reach out to Phil and Havana Phil's outside of this and keep the conversation going. So definitely,
Absolutely. Let's
it's
go.
not the end. So Phil is very accessible. So definitely reach out and ask any questions. Like I said, he's running the bots deal, so you can still get your cigars.
Let's go.
Have a great
Right.
day. Like I said,
Thanks,
stay
man.
safe.
Yes, sir. We'll see you soon.
Same to you. Bye.